It's fast, pacey, and to the point. Welcome to Week in One, your roundup of top news stories and interviews in the past 7 days. I am Moluko Moloto. Charges withdrawn against one of the accused in the kidnapping and human trafficking case of missing Joshlin Smith as chaos erupts outside of court. Then, we do special focus on the blight of kidnapping in the country. And self-confessed serial killer Sfiso Mkhwanazi found guilty of the murder of 6 sex workers. In a surprise move, charges have been dropped against one of the accused in the Joshlin Smith disappearance case at the Vredenburg Magistrates Court. And then the other 3 accused, including her mother, Kelly Smith, abandoned their bid for bail. Aisha Ismail compiled this report.
They were all meant to apply for bail. Jacqueline Apollos, Stefano van Rijn, Kelly Smith, and Phumza Sigaqa. But then the state prosecutor revealed that charges against Sigaqa had been withdrawn. The remaining trio abandoned their bail application. They face charges of trafficking in persons for purposes of exploitation as well as kidnapping. The matter was then postponed for further investigation.
Your Worship, several information has been received as to the whereabouts of the child in question. Those have been followed up. We are also awaiting cell phone data analysis. Those documents are to be obtained. Further witness statements to be obtained, so investigations are at a very early stage.
But should the accused decide to apply for bail at a later stage, the state will oppose it.
We wish we find Joshlin. We want to find Joshlin. That's our main and ultimate goal, is to find Joshlin. The appeal, we're still making that earnest appeal to everyone to assist us to find Joshlin. And as I still say, my prayer is we found her alive.
He would not divulge the outcome of the forensic analysis regarding clothing found in an open felt belonging to a little girl, saying it forms part of the investigation and will be revealed in court. The police commissioner did not rule out more arrests. Aisha Ismail, Vredenburg.
Meanwhile, chaos erupted outside court when scores of community members clashed with police. Let's take a look back.
They want to know where is Joshlin Smith. We are going to try and see if we can speak to some of the residents. Talk to us about this case, how it has affected or united the communities.
It has united the community as one, and we stand as one. That's all I can say. Justice for Joshlin. Thank you.
I mean, the search still continues for Joshlin Smith. No update as to where her body is or where she is.
The search still continues. Every day we're on the road, we're looking for Joshlin. It still continues. No body found, no evidence, no clues. But however, we won't stop.
And sir, maybe if we can also speak to you. Obviously, the 4 people are seeking bail. As community members who are still wanting to know where is Joshlin, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I don't think they must get bail. Because as a community, we don't stand for these things happening in our community. That is very cruel. And me as a father, I don't accept these things. That people can't be out of prison. He must be kept in prison until we found Joshlin.
The family of 32-year-old Phumza Sigaqa, who was implicated in the disappearance of Joshlin Smith, is seeking legal advice after the charges were withdrawn against her. eNCA's Nobesuthu Hejana reports.
Phumza Sigaqa's family says they are happy that she's been cleared of all the charges leveled against her, but they are worried about the safety of her husband and children in Middle Pause. Sigaqa was arrested last week alongside her family, but her husband and 3 children would be released the following morning while she remained behind bars. Her aunt says they are relieved.
Sivuyile thina kakhulu xa kuthiwa lichithiwe utyala ngoba besibuza umbuzo kuThixo bakwenzeka ntoni ngoba ke thina singobantu banefoni sibone egcwele ezifonini kuthiwa uligqirha zange sive bugqirha kuPhumza simazi ehlala nomyeni wakhe apha.
Zuziwe says
Elders in the family have been summoned to an urgent meeting to discuss the possibility of taking legal action regarding a wrongful arrest. After news broke that she had been freed, those championing her release were ecstatic.
So about 17 years limazi mina zange ngabone kubandakanya into wrong way. So besinethemba ngokuba nakanjani umthetho uzawubona into yoba lo mntu umzulwa.
Police used stun grenades and tear gas to disperse angry community members who weren't happy that they were kept away from the court.
We're unhappy. We want justice. We want justice. We want justice. It's not even full yet, but they say the court is full. Will it go in there by that gate that we saw that the court is full? There's nobody inside there.
Others are still concerned about the child's whereabouts.
We want answers and we don't get answers. And as nobody can see Kiali, nobody can speak to Kiali. It's only the media or the people inside, they can speak to her. So all we want to know is, where is Joshlin? We're searching, and there's nobody, no Joshlin. So it's a hectic thing for us, and it's traumatizing us.
Community members say they'll continue the search for 6-year-old Joshlin. Nabesutu Echana in Friedenberg.
On to this now. Self-confessed serial killer Sifiso Mkhwanazi has been found guilty of the murder of 6 sex workers in 2022. eNCA senior reporter Avi Wemdila was in court and filed this report.
I find the accused guilty of murder read together with the provisions of Section 51, subsection 1 of Act 105 of 1997. At the merits and
the first of 6 counts of murder that self-confessed sex worker killer Sifiso Mkhwanazi has been found guilty of. He's also been found guilty of 6 counts of rape, a count of unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, 1 count of theft, and defeating or obstructing the administration of justice.
I further find
ours as the NPA is to argue for a stringent sentence, and as the court has requested both counsels to engage it in terms of maybe taking the accused person for observation, for a risk assessment report to be compiled so that the court can have a clear picture of the person that they are dealing with.
Before sentencing, the judge has ordered that Mkhwanazi undergo psychiatric evaluation in Stekfontein to determine if he is a dangerous criminal.
The accused has committed the crimes.
Now, the impact of that would be that if the Stekfontein says that yes, they find it to be a dangerous criminal and the court accepts that, it means then the court isn't bound to give him a life sentence. But the court can then give what we call an indeterminate sentence, which means, for example, the court can say in 20 years' time, you're not going to be seen by a parole board. You have to come back to the court, ideally the same judge, and convince the court that you've been rehabilitated. If the court finds no, you haven't been rehabilitated, they can give you, for example, another 10 years.
Ayanda Chihota, whose mother, Nyarai, was gunned down by Mkhwanazi after being raped, is still feeling the raw pain.
I wasn't receiving it well because I just wanted to end. He must be sentenced and it ends. We're not doing pretty good. And she had 5 children. We were 5, but we lost 1 last year, December. So now that makes us 4.
Mkhwanazi is due back in court on the 8th of May for pre-sentencing proceedings. Aviwem Tila, Palmridge, Ekuruleng.
Stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, we look at some of the most talked about interviews that our anchors have conducted this week. Welcome back to Week in One. I am Moloko Moloto. Now, South Africa has fallen victims to a spike of kidnapping cases in the last year. Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal are leading with concerning levels of cases reported. eNCA's Dan Moyane spoke to Caroline Peters about how crucial response time is in these cases.
And we're seeing the cases spiking in two parts of South Africa, being Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Why is response time critical?
Response time, especially in the matters with women and children, is very critical, or any kidnapping. I mean, I know it's now almost a month later for Joshlin. And had the police, I mean, we know they have now said they did not, the lie detector was incorrect. There was not enough. It took a lot of people to put pressure on the services, on the police service. I hate the way it's been politicized. You know, it's almost become a political tool, of scoring tool, or scoring points before election. Who got to put the pressure on for the police to react soonest? We know that about five children go missing daily. But I think especially with kidnapping and children, we need a specialized task force to deal with this matter. And we've seen the increase, not just in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, where it's probably highest. However, even in the Western Cape, we've seen the increase of these types of crime. And yesterday, I spoke to a woman here from Peru, and the same thing happens. And I think it's a worldwide phenomenon, kidnapping. And so, yeah, but we definitely need faster response times from the stakeholders, SAPs, and intelligence and other services.
Besides the spike, you are seeing different trends. What are you observing?
Before, we know it was almost only the rich people that got missing, because there was money, where ransom could bound. But we know that human trafficking is also, there's been an increase in human trafficking. And I know for many people think human trafficking is something that only happens in movies, and it happens in other parts of the country. It happens internally within a province. So human trafficking is moving the person from one place to another.
Now, as we hone in on the thorny topic of whether to privatize state-owned enterprises, union body SAFTU maintains its stance against it. But why? eNCA Gareth Edwards had this conversation with SAFTU General Secretary Zwelinzi Mavavi.
What is worrying us now is that now that black people must also benefit from the same institutions, there is now a big drive to say no, they better be in private hands so that the private investors make money, and whilst the poor is sidelined.
So if not privatization, you're clearly very against privatization. If not privatization, how do we rescue these state-owned enterprises? Clearly the track record, at least for the last decade, perhaps even more, it doesn't bode well to service the poor, because those entities are failing, which is then failing everybody, including rich, white, poor, black, whatever it might be. If not privatization, how would you fix this? Then what do we do?
The failure is that of the ANC. Let's not mistake the fact that we need powerful institutions to ensure that our people have electricity and better roads and transport system and all of that. And the reality that we are facing is that the ANC government has driven them all to their knees through sheer corruption, through sheer wrong deployment of the worst kind, into drive and to lead these institutions, and not holding them accountable, even when there is now a 1 billion spent on the Zondo Commission, but there's hardly anybody. Those that have been arrested, for example, are walking out smiling.
Budget changes aimed at improving tax collection, prioritizing essential services, and Johannesburg's economic issues have been adopted by the City Council. eNCA anchor Masero Ratlaga spoke to the city's Ntatisi Mudingwani for more.
Many South Africans would say you weren't able to, grant us services during the time when you had more money. Why slash it by 4 billion? Isn't that going to make things worse?
The budget, when we announced it in the beginning of the year, reflects a number of factors. It reflects the grants that we are expected to receive. It reflects the money that we are supposed to receive by selling water and electricity and so forth. So it's not the money that is currently in the city. It's the money that will operate for the entire year. So what happened is that after assessing the performance, we realized that we are not going to realize the 80.9 billion that has been declared. And in terms of the Municipal Systems Act, it allows a municipality to readjust its budget if it feels that the performances are not going to realize the budget that was pronounced. It's a legal process that you have to do. So there are a number of challenges that we experienced in this financial year. One, there's an issue of load shedding that has been persistent. That has resulted in a majority or some of the customers of the city not relying on the electricity that is supplied by the city through city power, and maybe opting for other alternatives like your solar and other interventions. That reduces the consumption of the electricity that we're supposed to sell. So we're rebasing so that we reduce our bulk buying capacity so that it responds to the need that is currently here on the ground.
Stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, new developments regarding the municipal strike in eThekwini. Welcome back to Week in One. I am Muluku Moloto. The illegal municipal worker strike in eThekwini is over. Mayor Mxolisi Kaunda announced that negotiations between the city and South African Municipal Workers Union have resumed and that union members are back at work. eNCA's Leti Wemdluli reports.
Tempers have been rising in Durban. Frustrated residents took to the streets to protest against failures to receive services.
I will shiza myself here. I will put a petrol on my body and I will shiza myself here for the lights and water issue.
Okay, so our frustration is the same. We're all singing the same song. We're all raising our voices to the same thing. We need water and electricity. You have violated us of our constitution rights where it says that we have the right to basic running water and electricity.
Police were kept on their feet as many protests turned violent. After 2 weeks of strikes action, the mayor had some good news.
We are pleased that the negotiations with SAMU have resumed and a memorandum was issued by the union on Monday, directing its members to return to work. They started yesterday.
According to the mayor, the protests were not just about salaries. The strike action has resulted in mounds of uncollected waste lying across the city. Residents also had to endure long hours without water and electricity due to those who wanted to work being intimidated. One worker was killed and police are investigating.
She was going about doing her normal duties. She had transported grave diggers when she was accosted and she was beaten up. She succumbed to her wounds a couple of days later, and she's sadly late.
81 employees who were part of the strike are currently on precautionary expulsion and 88 have been dismissed. The city says it is also looking at opening a civil case against SAMU for the illegal strike. As those who created the mess start to clean it up, residents want to know whether their accounts will be credited since waste was not collected. All the city can say at this point is that they will look into the matter. Leti Wemdluli, Durban.
Crime statistics from the last quarter of 2023 show an 8% improvement in kidnapping cases in the Eastern Cape compared to the same period in the year before. But 2024 shows this luck has run out. eNCA's Ronald Masinda reports.
Check. He's coming to me now. He's got the gun out.
Kidnappings have become so common in South Africa that the country is among the worst affected in the world.
Yes, we are definitely popping onto that top list where we're in the 10 at-risk countries for kidnappings. We're seeing people coming into the country to do business that are specifically taking kidnap and ransom insurance.
Small businesses in particular have become easy targets because they are known to carry large sums of money where there is a lack of security. 4 armed men approached this fruit and veg store on Wednesday last week. They kidnapped the owner's wife, who is a Chinese national. An employee at the store says the perpetrators knew exactly who they were after.
Order down ukuthi emva koko wabe sithi no money because it's early. Wathi ke xa ingekho imali sihamba nawe.
In some areas, businesses have resorted to paying large sums of money to ensure their safety.
You know, as an example, I was chatting to a businessman that their security bill on a monthly basis was 300 and something thousand rand. And the strange thing is around the corner is a police station.
The Hawks in the Eastern Cape say while they continue to make some arrests, it is difficult to determine who is part of the growing criminal network.
We cannot actually confirm that it's an international syndicate. Yet we cannot deny. At the present moment, Ronald, we are still analyzing the modus operandi.
Many Chinese nationals who have become victims of recent kidnappings say they are considering leaving South Africa because it's become unsafe. Ronald Masinda, East London.
Gang violence in Johannesburg's Westbury is again in the spotlight following the killing of prominent community activist Joshlin Smith. Enraged residents say their lives are under siege and want the army to be deployed to the area. eNCA's Bafedile Moerani has the story.
This is where Westbury community activist Joshlin Smith's life ended on Monday evening. Smith had for many years been at the forefront of the fight against the gang violence. The gangsterism has spread to neighboring areas, including the illegal mining hub of Rivoli, among others. People's fear has also spread.
Over 20 odd people were shot over this past week, or shall I say 2 weeks. That is between Eldos, Rivoli, Noordgesig, and Westbury. And the amount of people that died in Westbury was over the amount of 11 people that died in our community as a whole. So it puts tremendous fear in our lives. For myself, I'm speaking for myself, you know, as an activist, my life is in so much danger. I'm on a hit list at this current moment.
The enraged community marched to Sophia Town Police Station on Tuesday, calling for more officers and soldiers to be deployed. Promises were made, but community leaders say none of them have been fulfilled.
At this hour, they said that the deployment would be from last night. There was no deployment done. Today, I have not seen a single patrol car while I've been in the two areas between Nuclear and Westbury. There was nothing. So you tell me, where are they? Are they talking? Perhaps they're breaking down the 200 by about 25 policemen extra in the community. I don't know. They need to tell us. But I'm not going to leave it like this because in the year 2018, we had a deployment from the minister. He didn't do anything because we just reverted back to the same spot. Last year, the very same thing. We also just got a deployment from the minister. Now, I don't want to speak to the CP. I don't want to speak to General Marsha. I don't want to speak to the new general in place of Mawela. I'm saying, bring me the president so that we can speak to him. Maybe he can give us something different.
But the South African Police Service in Gauteng maintains that the deployment to Westbury and 4 adjacent areas is underway. Bafedile Moerani, Westbury.
A bus ride gone wrong in Durban as a commuter is shot dead and others are injured. It was a normal day until armed men pounced on a bus that was transporting dozens of workers. eNCA senior reporter Dasan Tatia was on the scene.
It must have been a terrifying ride for the commuters that were on that bus. It's just over there behind me. Let me take you a little bit closer. This is the cordon now that's been put up on Newlands West Drive. So this is one of the main roads in this area, and it's now been blocked off because this is a crime scene that is being processed. So the bus is over there. I understand that police are still on the scene attending to this matter. The details for now, as we understand them, is that this bus was traveling up this road, and at that time there were gunmen that had jumped onto the bus and then opened fire on the passengers that were inside. during that time, that was when that woman was shot dead, but there were also others that were wounded on that bus. In fact, just to continue this conversation, I'll now bring in Gareth Jameson from ALS Paramedics. Your team was on scene when this happened. If you could just maybe give us some details around what it was like when you got here, when the team arrived.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. When the team arrived, as you can imagine, it was total chaos here. Multiple people running, onlookers looking. Obviously, we weren't here when the incident occurred, but shortly thereafter with other emergency services, and it was quite chaotic. So obviously, the initial thing is to do a triage system to see who's injured and who isn't injured, and that's when the medics found that the 3 occupants had been shot in the bus. One had already been rushed through to hospital. Unfortunately, a female had sustained fatal gunshot wounds, and paramedics declared her deceased on the scene, and then one patient was transported to hospital by ambulance.
And that's a wrap for this week's edition of Week in One. From myself, Moluku Mulota, and the super team, Beshe Beshe.